Hi there. Today I'm going to show you how to create a fillable form with a submit button using Microsoft Word. So let's get started. So first thing we want to make sure that we have our developer tab already added to our Microsoft Word. If it is we do not have a tab as yet, you can simply right click on the ribbon and click customize the ribbon, and under customize the ribbon you're going to see developer. Right now, you may see on your end that it is unchecked. So you just have to simply check the box and click OK, right? And the tab will be added. Now, the main parts of this ribbon that we're going to be focused on is the controls as well as the protect, right? So after we've added our buttons, right, our different features on the fillable form, right, we want to basically restrict editing and to only allow for the user who's going to be only filling out the form and nothing else. So let's get started with creating a little form, right? So what we want to do, so help is on the way there. So what we want to do, so to have structure to the form, right? We can start off with creating a table. So let me first position it properly where it's supposed to be, right? So we can start off with a table, right? And in the table, this is where we can type in our information. So we're going to do an application form to enter for a particular class, right? And we can have them enter their first name, middle name, or names. Some have more than one middle name, as well as your last name or surname, right? So up here now is where we're gonna enter a text box, right? So when we go to the developer tab, you're gonna see rich text content control. There is the plain text content control. Some of the other features, we have a picture content control. There is building block gallery. There is the checkboxes. There's a combo box, which is a pretty cool feature. And there is also the drop-down list control. There's a date picker, right? And we have repeated section. And here we have our legacy tools where we will be getting our command button, right? So this will come in handy later on. You have also gonna have checkboxes as well as a text box, right? So for now, in our form, we're gonna have plain text, right, to allow the user to enter. And there we go. Now, to basically remove the borders, right? Once you highlight the table, you go to table design, and under borders you can select no borders, right? And as you can see, you can go now and enter our data as normal, right? So we want to have a little more information to be added to the table, right? To the form, that is, sorry. And let's have a few info. Let me see. Right? So we can ask for their date of birth, right? We can also ask them for their contact number, their address, and also their email address. We could also ask them to update a picture of themselves. And we could ask them, how did you hear about our class, especially IT classes, right? So with the date picker, so next we want to have our information filled out. Now what we can do, we can and make this a bit smaller as well. Right now, when it is you insert a date picker, right, it's not really feasible as it is set on to choose the current date. So if a person was born in the 1980s or the 1970s, it'll take them a really long time to get to that particular date, right? So for now, we can enter a plain text. So to basically delete it, you click on the three dots here and delete, right? And we can enter a plain text, right? Contact number can also be a plain text, right? Along with the address, email address, right? And for the picture uploader, right, we can select the picture uploader here so that they can submit their picture, right? So we can identify who would be attending our classes, right? And what we can use here is a um, so we could use the combo box, right? So it allows for the user to also type in the information apart from selecting what's available on the list. They can type their own information. So let's go with the combo box. Right now, to basically edit it and to add option set where you highlight it, you select it and you go to properties. And from here, on the drop down list properties, we can add our values, right? So our school, we run ads on radios, on television, right? So we can add those particular options here and newspaper. And we can put social media, right? So we have our different options. And if it is that you want to type in an option, you can go ahead and do so as well. Right. Now that we have the additional fields. So we're going to do the same thing we did for the table above, right? And we go to table design here, and we can select no borders. Now you guys can edit, right, the form, to make it a little more presentable than what I have right now, right? And right now, this is where the fun part comes in, right? So we can add a little note here. Click on the submit button, and we can now insert our submit button here, right? And to do that, we go to our legacy tools and select the command button, right? When it is, you can go to properties to change the name. So over here, when you click on properties, you're going to see under caption, you could change the name to whatever it is you want. So you could put like click here, right? So in this case, we're using submit, right? You can also change color of the button, right? The style, the fore color, etc. You can change as well, right? But we're going to leave everything as default as we are good with it. Now we want to remove the table. So the border again, right? So we have a really nice looking form here, right? So what is we can do now? So you're gonna see these tags here. So to basically remove it, you notice that the design mode is highlighted, right? So once you click on it, you're going to see that it is no longer highlighted, right? So we are not done as yet, as we now have to program the button, right, to make sure that it is functional. That so what it is we're going to be using is Word Visual Basic, right? So once it is that we have set up code, so I will paste the code in the description, so you will see it there, right? So just a quick note of how the code looks. So the only thing you are going to change is your subject, body, and to. So the subject of the email, right? The body of the email, whatever message you would like to have attached to whoever you're sending it to, and obviously the email address you want the person to send the email to, right? You want them to send the fillable form to, right? So I'm just going to copy this here, right? And to basically add the code, we double click, right? So before we do that, we need to ensure that we save our document first, right? And you're going to be saving it as a macro, right? So I'm just going to save it, right, with, and we want to save it as macro enable document. Now, if you do not save it as that, the form would not be able to be sent via email, right? So we ensure that we select the second option, which is Word macro enable document, and we click save, right? Now we double click on the button. I saved it a little too soon. All right, so let's go back, design mode, double click, and here we go, right? And paste our code in, right? So again, just to reiterate, the code works. All that you have to change is the subject, body, and to, right? To put it to your particular liking, right? So so whatever the question that you may have for your schoolwork or even for your company, if it is that you are doing this fillable form for customers to fill out and submit back, right? This is where you will be making your change, right? Now, once it is that this has been applied, you just when it is you do click the submit button, it will open up on Outlook, right? Which would now structure the email as is. We're going to test it out in just a bit, right? So we come back out of design mode as we already made the change. Click on save again, right? But now we have one last thing to do before we can test our fillable forms, and that is to restrict editing. But before we do that, I just want to add a little structure again to the form, make it a little neater, right? Space it out a bit. 1.5 should be good. Right. So now let us restrict editing. So click on restrict editing, right? And we're going to select the second option, allow only this type of editing in the document. And you have different options, which is no changes, read only, track changes, comments, fill in forms, right? So we want our user to just fill in the forms, right, without making any other changes. So start enforcement. Are you ready to apply the settings? You say yes, start enforcing. So we're not going to, you could put in a password that you choose, that you like. But for this purpose, we are not going to be using a password. So let's click OK, right? And we're going to check to see if it works, right? So can I change this? No, I can't. Nice, right? So now we can enter some information. and our email address. Just an example, or egg as you would like to see it, right? At my email. And for the picture, let's see if it works. Right, and here it asks us where do we want to insert the picture from. So let's browse our file. Right, I look kind of dapper here, so I'm going to use this picture. Right, now how did you hear about our IT classes? Right, so either radio, TV, newspaper, social media. Right, and I could type in, let's check the combo box from the front. And yeah, it allows us to do that. So our final step now, let's see if the submit button works. And we click submit, and it takes a while, and yes, it does. Right, so we are able to now send our fillable form to the particular address that we would have listed in the VBA code. Right, so we have the to who the email is going to, the subject of the email. Right, the attached form is here with and as well as the body. So you could go ahead now and edit the body of the email if you have any other things to add to it. Right, you could go ahead and do so. And once you are completed, you can send that email. And that's basically it for creating fillable forms, right? Especially with the use of a submit button, right? I hope you guys enjoyed this video today. Thank you so much for taking the time to look at it. And hey, keep it tuned for lots more insightful videos when it comes to technology and technology in the classroom. So take care for now. Have a good time.